Hey everyone, the Mega Multi Mic here again, and on this week's episode we are talking about shoes, electric trucks, and plastic houses. It's going to be a good one, guys. I want to get started with a fun little article that I came across about a company that we all probably have heard about called Payless. Now, I'm sure all of you who are watching this remember that it wasn't too long ago that Payless ran into some financial trouble. I am aware that they closed down a lot of their stores. Now, Payless, for the longest time, was the place to go for inexpensive shoes. Since the dawn of the internet shopping era, that has really hurt their business model. Especially because they weren't adapting quick enough. Now, one of the things I liked about this article that I came across was that it shows that Payless is still in the fight, guys. I think they're still in the fight. They haven't lost completely, not 100%, at least not in my book. So what they did is they created this marketing ad that they're going to run on commercials, which for one I think is also a bad idea, mostly because a lot of people don't watch TV anymore. I for one don't have cable. Everything I watch is on the internet, on my phone. There's all kinds of avenues to specifically target your end buyer demographic that is much more efficient and much more cost efficient than putting an ad on TV. Now, what Payless did is interesting because they decided to do the route of the good old, let's take this to the extreme of tricking and pranking people. And what they did is they found a old Armani store, all right? So it already had the layout, everything was there set for them. And they brought out a couple of their Payless quality shoes and put them out on the floor as designer shoes, right? So they're trying to market these shoes as designers. Then they bring in social media influencers, so like YouTube personalities, Instagram personalities, Facebook people, and they tell all of these people that they are invited to the grand opening of this particular store, right? They show up and they start looking at these shoes, and of course, being, influencers, they have to investigate and put their word and their mark on everything, which they do. And it's kind of funny because, I'm going to put a link to the article that I'm referring to in the comments section or in the notes below the video here, so that you can go and check this article out. And it has a video in the article that you can watch too. It's more of like a trailer to the promotional ads, but essentially what they did is they tricked all of these personalities, influencers so to speak, into believing that these Payless shoes were actually designer, name brand, and much more pricey than they really were. In fact, some people paid even up to $600 for a pair of shoes. Now, of course, the article says that because it was a prank and they told them, these influencers afterwards, that they were actually way overpaying for Payless shoes, that they would get their money back. So, it was a really big marketing stunt. I mean, these influencers, they took the bait and they proved the point of Payless's model. Instead of paying more, you could just pay less, right? So that's their whole spiel, right? And they did that very effectively. I think they did it very effectively with their new campaign. Now, with all of my topics, I like to tie them into business and how you can use that for your own business, and talk about stuff that I'm doing so that I can help in any way that I can to provide value and use to you guys, my audience. I have not really ever been involved in the apparel or retail industry, except one occasion. In college, I did have a second job where I worked at an Express Men. I did that in the evenings for a couple hours throughout the week. I really just folded clothes, and then when people came in and asked how they looked in something, tell them how they looked or make suggestions to improve. That's pretty much the extent of my retail experience. Now, with that said, I understand that the retail environment is a humongous business. I mean, just the online retail aspect on it by itself. I mean, Alibaba, Amazon, eBay, Etsy, and you're talking about all these different places where people go to regularly to spend their money. And it's becoming much more common to buy things online because it's more convenient and there's less of the hassle of interacting with other people. And there's a lot of things about it that make it very attractive. Now, don't get me wrong. Internet sales only comprise of approximately about 35% of all retail sales. So retail physical space is still important. It's just not as important. And I would make the argument to say that having small strategic locations is probably more efficient than having big storefronts. I would also say that if you are going to go big in that kind of a manner, make it something that's value driven. Like, what else is there available to you? As an example, when Toys R Us in the last couple of years started to really struggle financially, they were stuck in leases for very large store locations. So what they began doing was subleasing to other businesses within their own store space. Now, with that said, I am actually getting into the retail space. I have a project going on right now. I have 2 business partners. Everything is still in the planning stages. We're locking in suppliers. We're locking in products. We're even going to be making our own line of products, primarily in men's apparel and men's accessories. And this is going to be a very fun project. It's something I have wanted to do for a while. And it's mostly been just something as like hey, that'd be fun. Let's try it out, And I was approached by a friend of mine that I've done a couple of business deals with in the past. I trust him. I know he has some good business sense. And he brought in a partner. And, after sitting down and discussing, what this kind of business would look like for each of us and, who's has what expertise and how we're going to be involved in all this together, I've decided that I'm going to go ahead and move forward with it. And, so far I'm happy with where the direction is. We've locked in a business model, a revenue source, and, we've decided on what the initial investment is going to be, which, I'm happy about as well because it's not very much. And, this is exactly why I do the things I do because, like I said, the whole point of the Mega Multi-Mic is that I have a lot of interests and I can't do them alone. To make them into a reality, there's no possible way that I can do them alone. I have to leverage the expertise and the abilities of others who have the same goals and intentions that I do. So in this particular situation, I have 2 new business partners in this endeavor so that I don't have to run every single aspect of this operation. I can rely on the expertise of 2 other individuals who are strong in areas that I am not. And we can work together to make this happen. And so I'm excited about this. I'm not going to say anything else about it because we haven't made an official launch. That's going to be coming early next year. So keep your eyes and ears out for it because I will be promoting and talking about that. Let's talk about electric trucks. Now, there's a company out there. I hope I'm pronouncing this correct. I believe it's Rivian. And they are building an all electric pickup truck. And for those of you who are not in the United States and you refer to these vehicles as something else, like a sports truck or a sports vehicle, or even a utility vehicle for my Australian friends, a ute. To be honest, I'm not totally sold on the styling. I understand it's also a prototype. I totally get the vision and where they're going with this, and I support it. I like it. I think it's a good idea. Now, in my first episode, I mentioned we talked a little bit about the thorium car, right? It's very much in line with things that I'm interested in doing. Again, I'm interested in launching my own electric car company or electric vehicle company, and mixing it up with a technology company to do more than just having cars. I think there's a wide array of technologies that could be integrated and turned into other products outside of that. One of the things I wanted to focus on is building a pickup truck. Primarily because that demographic is extremely important in terms of driving new sales for electric vehicles and getting them more of a market share. Tesla did an amazing job, and they fought for every inch of their progress. Don't get me wrong, they did, and that's why I'm a huge fan of Elon Musk and that business. When they first started, it was a more of a battery technology, and that technology allowed for the electric car to really be more efficient, not just in being able to drive it, but to drive it for extended periods of time. Elon Musk took over Tesla and started to focus on the higher end demographic, and I thought that was a smart approach because essentially what he did was he followed the bell curve of early adopters and said, I'm not going to go and mass produce this vehicle that no one's going to buy because only the only adopters will buy. So instead, let's produce the vehicle in small quantities and sell it to the small amount of people who are going to buy. And these small amount of people did buy. They loved it. So I'm not sure if any of you are aware, but Tesla has never run an advertisement. They have never had a magazine ad. They have never had a TV space. They have never put a Facebook campaign. They have never done any kind of advertising other than word of mouth. And part of that word of mouth is through reviews. So magazines like Car and Driver or YouTube channels, they were the ones to test drive these vehicles and say, man, Teslas are really great. And through that word of mouth, they generated a brand, and that is key to any business. And Tesla did that in exactly the right way. And after they were able to, get their foot in the door with that market share of the Model S, they began expanding their options. The Model S is still their flagship vehicle, and after they introduced the Model X and now the Model 3, their market share is growing at a pace that the other vehicle competitors like GM, Toyota, Ford, pretty much everybody in the market is now starting to notice. If you can compete with the other guy, that makes it you bring out better quality at a lower cost for the consumer, and that's always a good thing. What I think needs to happen in the next phase of getting this popularity contest to win and transition away from internal combustion engines, which honestly I don't think will ever go away completely. There are benefits to having internal combustion engines that you just can't compete with in terms of electric vehicles. What I think needs to happen is focusing on the working demographic. So if you have a pickup truck, chances are you use it for something, right? Here in Texas, almost everybody has a pickup truck, and that doesn't mean they use it for something. It's just because it's cool, right? What I would like to do is focus on the end buyer of fleet vehicles. Sell them pickup trucks that can be used for construction, for road maintenance, for working on ranches. Those kinds of things. I think once that demographic has been won over, that's the end of it. That's the final nail in the coffin, so to speak. And electric vehicles become a mainstream mainstay for everybody. Elon Musk is definitely attempting to do that by focusing on semis or the big rigs. These 18-wheeler vehicles that they're now selling that are Tesla battery powered. They have incredible specs. You should check them out if you haven't seen them. But that's definitely where they're going. So I know I'm on the right track with my thought process, because if Elon Musk is doing it and it's working for them, then I know that I'm on the right track with my business model and my thought process. Problem is getting it up and running. So for anybody who's watching this, if you happen to have a connection or a contact to anybody that might be able to mentor me or help me, guide me, point me in the right direction on how to get started in the car industry, I would love to hear from you. I would love to talk about this a little bit more, find out, what are the next steps. I'm currently in the prototyping phase, and I have a couple of ideas, but my ideas are actually kind of unique. I'm not going the exact route when it comes to the design of electric vehicles. And that's sort of my ace up my sleeve kind of thing, and I'm not going to say anything else about that, because that's my competitive advantage. But I will say that the unfortunate downside to this technology is in that demographic with the pickup trucks. One of the the impractical aspects of it are the recharge rates. When you have to recharge, you're going to be sitting there for about 30 minutes to an hour waiting for that to recharge, which, when compared to an internal combustion engine, can literally take maybe 5 to 7 minutes. Now, whether that trade-off is beneficial or not, that's up to the consumer or the end buyer. That's something that needs to be figured out. Honestly, I think it's a minor inconvenience, but when looking at the grand scheme of things, I think that there does need to be some sort of adaptation or additional technology on board to assist with generating electricity. I'm not saying going down the route of like a hybrid vehicle. I'm talking going back to my first episode of the Thorium car. Why not have some sort of micro reactor type thing that generates electricity over a long period of time, that doesn't need to be refueled or recharged or swapped out as often, and you can not only extend the range of the vehicle but reduce the time it takes to recharge those batteries. Just an idea. That's something that I have cooking, something that I think is going to be definitely a long-term goal, and it may seem unrealistic at the moment, but I know my plan is going to get me there. I'm saying maybe 7 years from now. That's good. I'm definitely going to be at the forefront of that, and that's very exciting for me. All of these small businesses that I have are all put in place to cover each and every single step of this business, of this master plan, so to speak. All right, so let's go on to the next topic. So for this last topic of today's episode, we're going to talk about this company called Plastic Concepts. Actually, that's a translation because the company, their name is in Spanish, but this one is, again, really fun for me. If you haven't figured out by now, I'm all about innovation, I'm all about efficiency, I'm all about trying new stuff, learning, and just making it work, right? This one is fun because it's about houses. So plastic houses, what does that really mean? What this company does, or is planning on doing, is taking waste, things like plastic bottles, old wood, corrugated cardboard, tires, thrown out electronics like old computers and cell phones, and recycling them, and then taking that recycled product, compacting it, and turning it into essentially plastic bricks. But these plastic bricks have the same consistency, same structural integrity, same material properties as something like concrete, which is fascinating. That's definitely a materials engineering thing that I would love to learn more about. Having an engineering background, these things interest me, but it also interests me because I am involved in real estate, and I do a lot of real estate investment deals for other people, and I'm just now starting to build my own portfolio. And one of the things that I would love to do, I would absolutely, I mean, this would be in the world of real estate, this is like my end goal, my to do top priority. If I can get to that point, I will consider myself a success, and that will be like the end of the height of my career in real estate. I personally would love to build neighborhoods and build mixed use buildings. I mean, I would love to build apartment communities as well. That's definitely up there for me. Not just build them, but I would like to own them and help operate them. That's right now for me, real estate is the thing that is going to be helping me build that passive income. Hopefully that will allow both me and my wife to not have to be required to have a job and focus on other things. And that's, again, going back to the concept of the Mega Multi-Mic, having all these little businesses growing and producing positively. That cash flow I want to use to cover my expenses, my regular monthly expenses. Everything else on top of that can be used to reinvest and grow in multiple directions. And that's exactly what I plan on doing. And when I saw this company, I saw this and I thought, man, that is what I want to do. That's where I want to go in that direction. You will hear me say this over and over again. I'm all about innovation. I'm all about efficiency. And I just love learning and trying new things. And I love that this company is using waste, everything that everybody doesn't want, and they are turning it into something that is an asset, which is these bricks. When I came across it, I saw it actually through a Facebook video that someone shared to me, that they referred to it as the Lego house, because the way these concrete or plastic bricks can fit together, they fit seamlessly like you would with Lego bricks. And that's also another really fascinating and interesting feature that I love about this project or this product, because it really drives the costs down when looking at construction costs. So I love everything about this, and I wish that more of this could be done. And I'm really interested in seeing what is going to be done on the legislation level, on how these homes are classified in terms of construction type and the laws regarding what can be used or what this material can be used for, in terms of like load-bearing walls versus non-load-bearing walls, or what areas of a town or a state that these kinds of homes can be built in, what their ratings are. I don't know. I didn't really see anything about how these things fare against fire. But I think what would be really cool, going back to the things that in terms of a business that I would like to get into, is automating this construction process. How can you do it so that maybe you take this robot, or for lack of a better term, a giant robot, plop it down onto the plot where you're going to build this house, and you program it, give it all the parts, and it goes in there and builds the house for you, so you don't have to hire people, and you can rely on like the precision of the machine doing this job. I mean, naturally, yes, you would need to have people on site to oversee the robot and make sure that everything's being done correctly. There's no mistakes, or there's no errors with the machine. Nothing happens to the machine or to nearby homes, things like that. And I think that's a fun option and idea to explore. and I think that's definitely something that's going to be happening in the very near future. And who knows, maybe it'll something like this will lead me into going and building private islands, like I mentioned in my last episode, and talking about the city of Atlantis, have my own underwater vacation homes or apartment towers or mixed-use buildings and all that kind of stuff. That would be really cool. I just thought this was a very fascinating article about a business doing something that I think is fantastic. It's amazing, and I would love to be a part of something like that. So if you're watching and you happen to know or be involved in a project like this, let me know. I'd like to hear from you. Maybe we can connect and make something happen. Who knows? All right, guys, that's the end of today's episode. Thanks for watching, and as always, I want to encourage each and every one of you to go out there and find your passions, find what you're good at, and if you can, turn it into a business. You know, do what you love, and make that into a lifestyle of doing the things that you are good at, that you love and you enjoy, and doing it freely. And I just want each and every one of you to just love what you do and love those around you. I mean, we're all here in this together. Might as well make it the best ride possible, right? Take care.